This is a quick video to go over the electric motor adapter for the Dynasoar Rocketry rocket boosted glider kits. So the first thing I wanted to show you are the batteries that I'm using for the rocket boosted glider if you're just flying it as is. So this is a small 450 milliamp hour single cell lithium battery. Now that battery came with a special connector that doesn't fit the receiver. And since I'm plugging these directly into the receiver, I needed a connector that would go into that. And so I had a spare connector from something else that I wasn't using, so I've connected that into the battery. But now for my charger, I need a special connector that fits the servo wire, and so that just means that I had to make one of those as well. Another option is this little E-Flight single cell battery. It's a 500 milliamp hour battery. It comes with a 2-pin JST connector by default. Most battery chargers that you get will have a connector that will fit that, so you could use that directly. From Grayson Hobbies, they make a little adapter that has a JST on one end and the receiver plug on the other, so you can just plug this guy in, if I get it in the right direction. Plug that guy in, so you can unplug it and use it on your charger, and then just plug that in, and that gives you a little tail that you could plug into the bottom of the model. So I'll flip this over. These are really tiny batteries, and they're pretty neat. They're 3.7 volts nominally, but when they're fully charged, they're at 4.2, so they're about 4 volts with moderate charge on them. So they don't take up a whole lot of room. So this is the bottom of my F106, so you can see the battery just velcros onto the side, and then I've made a little hole in the model, and you can route the little wire pigtail through the model and then plug it directly into your receiver. Now most of these Spectrum or 2.4 gigahertz receivers are designed to work down to 3.5 volts. The servos will run okay at this 4 volt level. They just run a little bit slow, but it's nothing that really causes you a problem during boost, and then you don't have to have a battery eliminator, so it's very simple. And then a little bit longer E-Flight battery would fit in the same way. It just goes on the bottom of the model with Velcro. Now, so that's if you're just setting it up for rocket glider only. I set these so where the battery's hidden underneath the bottom of the model, and I've just used nose weight. In this case, I put the nose weight. I've just cut a slot in the side of the nose, and I've used the self-stick nose weights and glued them in and then painted them over black so you don't really see them, so nothing's hanging out. Now if you're flying the model as electric and you want to use the adapter, I'll show you another model where I've set it up that way. So now in this model, instead of where I had the battery before, I've got my speed control, and it's got wires that go to the back end of the model where the electric motor is going to be. Now on this model, since the electric motor is back there, I've got to fly this thing, and I didn't want to put just lead weight, and I need a battery anyway. So I've got a 3-cell 800 milliamp hour E-Flight battery that's held by Velcro. It's pretty far forward as I can, and that's where the battery goes. So I balanced the model with that. I didn't need to add any nose weight to the model like I did with the rocket powered one, but the rocket powered one doesn't have a heavy battery up front, so you've got to make up for it somewhere. So I've put that battery up there, and again, the wires just go all the way to the back end of the model. I'll see if I can set this here. And I've taped the wires down, and then you can see here's the little adapter pod with the little Grayson Microjet V3. It's got an APC 6.4 propeller on it, so you can see it's a fairly small package. It plugs right into where the rocket motor goes, and it uses the little motor hook right there to click into place. So it goes into a little slot in the adapter, and it holds the motor in place so the motor can't go anywhere. Now the motor doesn't really need a whole lot of retention. It just needs to not fall out and to not twist, and so that's plenty. So I've got my wires here, and you can see I've got little marks on them, 1, 2, and 3. I've got those on the model wires and the wires on the motor, and that helps me remember which ones they go to. So if the motor's turning the wrong direction, you can swap 2 of the wires and it'll go the right direction, but this just helps me know that I've got it plugged in right the first time. And now I can simply take this, let me set this down and see if I can get it on camera here. Maybe not. Okay, so all I'm going to do, these motors come with little connectors on them. So I'm just going to pull the 3 connectors off. Okay, and you can see I've got my wires taped down, so they're going to stay there. And I'm just going to take a pen or some little tool. All I need to do is get under that motor hook and pull the hook out, and then I can pull the adapter out, and it's the adapter with the motor on it right there. So very, very simple. Now once I've got that out, then I can put a rocket motor in the tail end. The wiring just hangs there. I've just taped it at the very end so it doesn't flap around. It doesn't hurt anything. And now the power, the speed control is already plugged into the receiver here. So it's going to provide power to the receiver and it'll move the controls for you. Now all I have to do is put the rocket motor in the back and make sure that my balance is still correct. Now I know that my rocket motor weighs about 1/2 ounce less than an electric motor. So what's going to happen then for it to balance right is I'm going to have to put a lighter battery on the front, or I'm going to have to move the battery back a little bit, or I can use one of those really tiny batteries and disconnect the speed control and plug that little battery in, and then I'm going to have to add some weight up front. So the easiest thing I found is if I balance the model with this E-Flite 3-cell 800 milliamp hour battery pack, if I get one of their 2-cell battery packs that they sell for the Blade helicopters, I can put that 2-cell battery up here. It weighs 1/2 ounce less, and I can put my rocket motor in the back, and generally it'll balance exactly where it needs to for rocket flight. So I don't need to do anything different. So I can have one flying battery for electric power and one 2-cell battery for rocket power, and I don't need to add any weight. Now you could use a little battery in the middle, and you could put some Velcro with some lead weights and stick the lead weights here with some Velcro. I've done that in the past too. So you can do that. But the nice thing about this adapter is even if you don't ever fly them on rocket power, if you use the little pod and the same battery and you've balanced them all for that setup, your electric motor is always going to weigh the same. So does your battery. So now I can take this electric motor setup that's very inexpensive. Grayson right now has these on sale for $13 or $14. Normally they're about $20. That comes with the little prop adapter. It doesn't come with the prop and the little mounting plate. It doesn't come with screws to screw onto your plywood disc, but those are fairly easy to get. But now that means I can set up all my models with this that are rocket powered, put a speed control on them with the wires hooked up, and all I need to do to fly it then is just take this little pod, plug it into the back of the airplane, hook up the wires, and I'm ready to go. So I don't need to buy an electric motor for every one of my airplanes. I just need one of these pods and the electric motor on it, and I can swap it from plane to plane. It takes just a couple of seconds. They're all set up to use the same thing, so it's fairly economical. I can fly a lot of planes on the same motor. If I have a problem with a motor, I can have 2 of these maybe and swap one out for the other plane. And it's pretty easy, and then I can always take them out and fly them as rocket gliders if I want to. So it's pretty versatile. So hopefully that was useful. Thanks.